Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments when silence is our greatest ally, when restraint is wisdom, and stillness speaks louder than words. But what happens when silence no longer serves us? When it is mistaken for weakness, when it allows injustice to persist, or when it stifles the truth that must be spoken? Clarifying your intentions is the first and most crucial step before speaking or taking action. Without clarity, words become scattered, and actions lose their direction. It is easy to react in the moment, driven by emotion, but true strength lies in understanding why you are about to do something before you do it. This requires self-reflection, patience, and a willingness to pause before letting emotions take over. When faced with a situation where silence is no longer an option, the impulse to speak or act can be overwhelming. The mind races with thoughts of what needs to be said, how others will react, and what the consequences might be. However, before anything is said or done, the first question must always be why. Why am I choosing to break my silence? Why does this matter? What outcome am I seeking? Answering these questions prevents unnecessary conflict and ensures that words and actions are aligned with a greater purpose, rather than fleeting emotions. Many people speak simply to be heard, to prove a point, or to satisfy their own ego. They believe that raising their voice or taking immediate action will establish dominance or bring instant resolution. However, speaking for the sake of speaking rarely leads to meaningful change. Words should be tools of precision, not weapons of impulse. When intentions are unclear, conversations can quickly turn into arguments, and actions can lead to unintended consequences. Taking the time to reflect on the purpose behind speech or action allows one to remain centered and avoid being swept away by emotion. Clarity of intention also prevents regret. Many times people say things in the heat of the moment only to later wish they had remained silent. Words spoken without thought can damage relationships, escalate conflicts, and create unnecessary problems. On the other hand, when one takes a moment to understand their true purpose, they can communicate in a way that is firm yet controlled, strong yet respectful. This is not about suppressing emotions, but rather about directing them in a way that serves a higher goal. To clarify intentions, one must strip away pride and ego. Too often people are driven by the need to win an argument or to prove they are right. However, the goal should not be victory over another person, but alignment with truth and wisdom. Speaking should never be about proving superiority, but about bringing clarity, justice, or resolution. If words are meant to serve the ego, they will only create division. If they are meant to serve a greater good, they will have power and impact. Another key aspect of clarifying intentions is understanding whether a situation even requires a response. Not every battle is worth fighting. Some conflicts are fueled by emotion rather than principle, and engaging in them serves no real purpose. When one understands their true intentions, they can determine whether speaking or acting will lead to a meaningful outcome, or if it is simply a distraction. There is wisdom in knowing when to walk away and when to engage. And this wisdom comes from a deep understanding of one's purpose. Clarity also brings confidence. When one knows exactly why they are speaking or acting, they do not second-guess themselves. Doubt and hesitation come from uncertainty, but when the purpose is clear, words come with strength and actions carry conviction. People can sense when someone speaks with certainty versus when they are simply reacting. A clear intention ensures that communication is not only effective but also respected. Moreover, having a clear purpose helps navigate difficult conversations. When discussions become tense, emotions can take over, making it difficult to stay focused. However, when one's purpose is clear, they can remain steady, regardless of how others react. They do not need to match another person's anger with anger or defensiveness with defensiveness. Instead, they can stay committed to their goal, ensuring that their message is not lost in unnecessary conflict. Finally, clarifying intentions is a practice, not a one-time effort. Every situation is different, and emotions will always try to interfere. The key is to develop the habit of pausing before responding, of questioning one's motives, and of ensuring that every word and action aligns with wisdom rather than impulse. This habit leads to greater self-control, stronger communication, and a life guided by purpose rather than reaction. Controlling your emotions is one of the most powerful skills a person can develop, especially in situations where silence is no longer an option. Emotions are natural, and they arise for a reason, but allowing them to dictate words and actions often leads to regret, unnecessary conflict, and a loss of control. Strength is not found in suppressing emotions, but in mastering them, understanding their purpose, acknowledging their presence, and choosing how to respond rather than reacting impulsively. When emotions run high, they cloud judgment. Anger, frustration, or even excitement can push a person to speak before thinking, leading to words that cannot be taken back. When words are spoken in the heat of emotion, they often serve the moment rather than the bigger picture. A conversation that could have led to resolution instead turns into a battle of egos, and an opportunity for understanding is lost. The ability to control emotions allows one to step back, assess the situation, and determine the most effective way to proceed. It ensures that words and actions are guided by wisdom rather than temporary feelings. One of the greatest dangers of unchecked emotions is that they make a person easy to manipulate. Those who cannot control their emotions are predictable, and predictable people are easy to provoke. If someone knows that a certain comment will make you angry, they can use that against you. If they know that a particular situation always leads you to lose your temper, they can push you toward it. And watch as you sabotage yourself. The ability to remain calm in difficult situations makes a person unshakable. It removes the power that others may try to hold over them and allows them to navigate challenges with clarity and confidence. Developing emotional control requires self-awareness. Recognizing emotional triggers is essential to managing them effectively. If certain words, situations, or behaviors consistently provoke a strong emotional reaction, it is important to understand why. Often, emotions are tied to deeper issues, past experiences, insecurities, or unresolved conflicts. By acknowledging these underlying factors, a person can begin to separate emotion from reality, responding to situations as they are rather than as they feel. Breathing and pausing before responding is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to regain control in emotional situations. A few deep breaths create a moment of separation between emotion and action, allowing reason to take the lead. Instead of reacting impulsively, there is space to consider what response, if any, is necessary. Sometimes emotions make situations seem more urgent than they truly are. Pausing provides the opportunity to question whether a response is even required or if it is better to walk away. It is also important to remember that controlling emotions does not mean limiting them. Emotions are valuable, they provide insight into what matters and signal when something requires attention. However, they must be managed rather than given free rein. Anger can be a powerful force for justice when channeled correctly. Sadness can lead to deeper understanding when allowed to exist without consuming one's perspective. The goal is not to become emotionless, but to develop the discipline to ensure that emotions serve a purpose rather than dictate behavior. Emotional control is a lifelong practice, and no one masters it overnight. There will be moments when emotions take over, when words slip out before they can be stopped, or when frustration overrides patience. The key is not perfection, but progress, learning from mistakes, recognizing patterns, and continuously working toward greater self-mastery. With time and effort, the ability to remain calm under pressure, to think before speaking, and to respond with wisdom rather than impulse becomes second nature. This control is what separates those who are ruled by their emotions from those who rule over them. Choosing your words wisely is one of the most important skills a person can develop. Words have power. They can build or destroy, heal or wound, bring people together or drive them apart. Once spoken, they cannot be taken back, and their impact can last far longer than the moment in which they were said. Because of this, it is essential to approach speech with careful thought rather than impulsive reaction. Words should be tools of precision, used with intention and purpose, rather than scattered carelessly in the heat of the moment. One of the biggest mistakes people make is speaking without considering the weight of their words. In moments of anger or frustration, it is easy to say something that feels justified at the time, but later proves damaging. A careless comment can break trust, a poorly chosen phrase can escalate a conflict, and an unnecessary remark can create division where none existed before. Many conflicts arise not because of deep disagreements, but because of words that were spoken without thought. A person who masters the ability to choose their words carefully avoids unnecessary arguments and misunderstandings, preserving relationships and maintaining their own peace of mind. The ability to choose words wisely begins with listening. Too often, people are quick to respond before fully understanding what is being said. They hear a few words, assume they know the full meaning, and react based on assumptions rather than reality. This leads to miscommunication, frustration, and unnecessary disputes. Taking the time to truly listen before speaking ensures that responses are thoughtful and relevant rather than reactionary. When people feel heard, they are more open to dialogue, and the chances of productive conversation increase significantly. Another important aspect of choosing words wisely is clarity. Many misunderstandings occur because people are vague or imprecise in their speech. They assume that others will automatically understand their meaning, but in reality, words can be interpreted in many different ways. To avoid confusion, it is essential to speak with clarity and purpose. Instead of relying on vague statements or leaving room for misinterpretation, it is better to be direct and intentional with words. This ensures that the message is understood as intended, reducing the likelihood of unnecessary disputes. Tone is just as important as the words themselves. The same phrase can be received in vastly different ways depending on how it is said. A statement spoken with kindness can build understanding, while the same word spoken with sarcasm or anger can create resentment. Mastering tone requires self-awareness and emotional control. It means recognizing how one's words might be received and adjusting accordingly. Even when delivering difficult messages, speaking with a calm and respectful tone increases the chances of being heard without defensiveness or hostility. Silence, too, plays a crucial role in wise speech. Just because something can be said does not mean it should be. There are moments when remaining silent is more powerful than speaking. Some battles are not worth fighting, and some words, though true, do not need to be spoken. A person who understands this does not waste energy on unnecessary conflicts. They recognize that not every situation requires a response and that sometimes the wisest thing to do is to say nothing at all. Words should also align with action. Speaking without follow-through weakens credibility. When people see that words do not match actions, trust is lost. On the other hand, when words are carefully chosen and backed by consistent behavior, they carry greater weight. A person whose words are measured and thoughtful earns respect because others know they do not speak lightly or without meaning. The practice of choosing words wisely extends to self-talk as well. The words a person speaks to themselves shape their mindset and self-perception. Negative, harsh, or self-defeating language reinforces doubt and insecurity, while positive and constructive words build resilience and confidence. Just as it is important to be mindful of words spoken to others, it is equally essential to be mindful of how one speaks to themselves. Choosing words wisely in this regard fosters a strong and disciplined mind. Ultimately, the way a person speaks reflects their character. Those who are careless with words often create chaos in their relationships and in their own lives. Those who choose their words with wisdom, however, build trust, respect, and understanding. This does not mean avoiding difficult conversations or only speaking in ways that are comfortable for others, but rather ensuring that every word serves a purpose and is aligned with integrity. The ability to communicate effectively, with thoughtfulness and control, is one of the greatest strengths a person can cultivate. Acting where it matters is a principle of wisdom and efficiency. Energy, time, and effort are limited resources, and wasting them on things that do not contribute to meaningful change only leads to exhaustion and frustration. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every situation requires action. Knowing when and where to act is what separates those who make a difference from those who simply react to everything around them. It is not about doing more, but about doing what is necessary. In life, there are countless distractions that demand attention. People are often pulled in multiple directions, trying to fix everything at once, but spreading oneself too thin leads to ineffective results. The key is to focus on the battles that truly matter, the decisions that will have the greatest impact, and the causes that align with one's values and principles. Instead of reacting to every minor inconvenience or engaging in unnecessary conflicts, it is far more productive to direct energy towards situations where action will bring meaningful outcomes. One of the biggest mistakes people make is feeling the need to respond to every challenge, every criticism, and every injustice, even when their involvement will not change anything. Not every argument needs to be won, And not every problem needs to be solved personally. Sometimes walking away is the wiser choice, not out of cowardice, but because the fight itself is not worth the cost. Strength is not measured by how often a person engages in battle, but by the ability to discern when engagement is truly necessary. Taking action where it matters also means understanding the difference between what is within one's control and what is not. Many people waste time worrying about things they have no ability to change, allowing frustration to consume them. Instead of focusing on what is beyond reach, it is far more effective to take action where influence is possible. Whether in personal relationships, career decisions, or social causes, directing effort toward areas where change is achievable leads to greater success and fulfillment. Courage is essential when it comes to acting in meaningful situations. There will always be moments when taking action is difficult, when speaking up is uncomfortable, when standing firm invites criticism, or when making a decision means taking on responsibility. However, avoiding action in these moments out of fear only leads to regret. It is easy to remain silent, to step back and hope that someone else will take charge, but meaningful change only happens when individuals have the courage to do what must be done, even when it is difficult. Many people hesitate to act because they seek the perfect moment, but waiting for ideal conditions often results in inaction. There will never be a time when everything is perfectly aligned. Progress comes from taking steps forward, even in uncertainty. Small actions, when directed toward the right causes, can create significant change over time. A single effort may seem insignificant, but consistent action in the right places leads to results that would never have been achieved through hesitation. Another important aspect of acting where it matters is understanding the long-term consequences of decisions. Some actions may provide immediate satisfaction but lead to problems in the future. Others may require patience and discipline but result in lasting success. Thinking ahead and considering the impact of choices ensures that actions are taken with wisdom rather than impulse. Instead of being driven by temporary emotions, decisions should be guided by logic, purpose, and an awareness of what truly matters. Ultimately, acting where it matters is about prioritization and purpose. It is about knowing when to step forward and when to hold back, when to speak and when to listen, when to fight and when to fight, or when to walk away. It is about focusing on what is truly important rather than getting lost in distractions. Those who master this principle do not waste energy on the meaningless. They direct their efforts toward what is significant, making an impact where it counts. Accepting what you cannot control is one of the most liberating realizations a person can have. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how much effort is put into planning, preparing, and striving for a certain outcome, there will always be factors beyond personal influence. The more a person fights against what they cannot change, the more frustration, anxiety, and disappointment they experience. True peace comes from understanding that while effort and intention are important, not everything is within one's grasp. Learning to differentiate between what can be changed and what must simply be accepted is a fundamental step toward wisdom and inner strength. People often spend a great deal of time worrying about things that are outside of their control. They stress over how others perceive them, over circumstances dictated by chance, or over past mistakes that cannot be undone. This mental struggle drains energy and accomplishes nothing. Worrying does not change outcomes. It only diminishes the quality of the present moment. When a person learns to release this unnecessary burden, they free themselves to focus on what they can influence: their own actions, their responses, and their mindset. One of the greatest challenges in accepting what cannot be controlled is the desire for certainty. The human mind craves predictability, stability, and a sense of order. However, the world does not operate according to individual desires. Situations change, people act in unexpected ways, and external forces often shape outcomes more than personal effort does. Rather than resisting this reality, embracing it allows for greater flexibility and resilience. Life is not meant to be entirely predictable, and attempting to control everything only leads to disappointment. The ability to adapt and adjust to life's uncertainties is a far greater strength than the illusion of control. Relationships often provide a clear example of this struggle. No matter how much effort one puts into being kind, understanding, or supportive, others will still act according to their own nature. A person cannot force someone to change, to stay, or to feel a certain way. Accepting this truth prevents the pain that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead of focusing on changing others, energy is better spent on improving oneself, setting healthy boundaries, and responding with wisdom rather than desperation. The same applies to many aspects of life, from career opportunities to personal goals. A person can do everything right and still not achieve the desired outcome. This is not failure, it is simply reality. The only failure is refusing to accept it and allowing disappointment to take over. Learning to let go does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. It means recognizing where effort should be directed and where it should not. It means giving full effort in areas where action matters, while remaining detached from the need to control results. This balance creates a sense of freedom and reduces stress. Instead of fearing uncertainty, one learns to move through it with confidence, knowing that regardless of the outcome, they have done what they could. One of the most powerful ways to practice acceptance is by focusing on the present moment. The past cannot be changed, and the future is uncertain, but the present is within reach. Worrying about what might happen or regretting what has happened only distracts from the opportunities available now. By fully engaging with the present, a person is able to make better decisions, experience greater peace, and appreciate life as it unfolds. In the end, accepting what cannot be controlled is not about giving up, it is about letting go of unnecessary suffering. It is about choosing peace over struggle, clarity over frustration, and wisdom over resistance. It is a practice, not a one-time decision, and it requires continuous effort. But once mastered, it allows for a life that is more peaceful, resilient, and focused on what truly matters. Returning to stillness is an essential practice in a world filled with noise, distractions, and constant movement. Life often demands action, reaction, and decision-making, creating an environment where the mind is always engaged, always processing, and always anticipating the next challenge. In the midst of this chaos, the ability to step back, slow down, and find inner stillness becomes a source of strength. Stillness is not about doing nothing. It is about creating space for clarity, reflection, and renewal. It is about finding balance between movement and rest, between engagement and detachment, between the external world and the internal self. Modern life pushes people toward constant stimulation. From the moment they wake up, they are bombarded with information, news, social media, emails, messages, all demanding their attention. This creates a state of mental restlessness where silence feels unfamiliar and stillness is mistaken for inaction. But without moments of stillness, the mind becomes overwhelmed, decisions become reactive rather than intentional, and true understanding is lost in the noise. Just as the body needs rest to function properly, the mind needs stillness to process thoughts, emotions, and experiences with clarity. One of the greatest benefits of stillness is the ability to see things as they truly are. When the mind is constantly active, it becomes clouded by emotions, assumptions, and distractions. A restless mind jumps to conclusions, misinterprets situations, and makes choices based on impulse rather than wisdom. But in stillness, thoughts settle, emotions stabilize, and perspective shifts. Problems that once seemed overwhelming become manageable. Challenges that felt urgent reveal themselves to be insignificant. Solutions that were previously hidden become clear. Stillness creates space for insight, allowing a person to navigate life with greater awareness and purpose. Returning to stillness also strengthens emotional control. When caught in the momentum of life, emotions can feel overpowering. Anger, frustration, anxiety, and fear take hold, pushing a person to react in ways they later regret. But when stillness is practiced, emotions are no longer in control. Awareness. In a moment of stillness, there is an opportunity to observe emotions rather than be consumed by them, to acknowledge their presence without allowing them to dictate actions. This ability to step back and regain composure is what allows a person to respond to situations with wisdom rather than impulse. Stillness is also a source of resilience. Life is unpredictable, and no one is immune to difficulty. There will be moments of loss, failure, disappointment, and hardship. In these moments, returning to stillness provides stability. It becomes a refuge, a place of internal strength that is untouched by external chaos. It allows a person to endure challenges without being broken by them, to remain centered even when everything around them is uncertain. Those who cultivate stillness develop an unshakable foundation, a sense of inner peace that is not dependent on circumstances. Despite its power, stillness does not come naturally to most people. It must be practiced intentionally. It can be found in quiet moments early in the morning before the world wakes up, in the pause between tasks, in deep breaths taken before speaking, in time spent alone with one's thoughts. It can be cultivated through meditation, reflection, or simply choosing not to react immediately to every external demand. The more stillness is practiced, the more it becomes a natural state, available even in the midst of chaos. Stillness is not about escaping life, but about engaging with it more fully. It is about creating a sense of calm that allows for better decisions, deeper understanding, and greater awareness. It is the difference between being controlled by the world and moving through it with purpose. Those who master stillness do not avoid challenges, they face them with clarity and strength. They do not seek endless distractions, they find fulfillment in presence. They do not react impulsively, they respond wisely. In a world that is always moving, the ability to return to stillness is one of the greatest forms of power. Stillness is not a retreat from life, but a deeper engagement with it. It is the foundation that allows for clarity in decision-making, resilience in adversity, and wisdom in action. When the world pulls in every direction, those who cultivate stillness remain steady, unshaken by chaos, and guided by purpose rather than impulse. In the silence they find strength, in the pause they gain perspective, in the stillness they reclaim control over their own lives. The ability to return to stillness is not just a practice, it is a path to true inner freedom.